about some of the things we're seeing, and also just it's your chance to pick Corby's brain as far as things that you need to be doing when it comes to the claims end of the issues.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time, so I just kind of make this fun a little bit, but there are some things that I think you'll appreciate, and I don't know what really goes on out in your county, so I've gone with kind of what's gone on and what I've seen in my lifetime. And so I just push the arrow like that. Let's see. I never know how these things work. Is this the scaffolding you use in your counties?
That'll work.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. When I was in high school, in the summers, I'd work for a brick mason doing masonry work, and we put up the scaffolding, and it's funny how you'd always put it up nice, and it looked good, and you'd go work on it, and then just when you took it down, you realize there's one more thing you forgot to do, and you didn't want to set it up, and so that's when you always did something stupid. They come up with these kind of ideas, so that you could hurry get that last brick up on top without having to rebuild the whole scaffolding again. But anyway, just as a throw into, we need to be careful. We got to make sure when we're in a hurry and we have an object up high, we don't just throw up something and try fixing it. I've done this myself. We're working on a window, and we think, I could go get this ladder from my neighbor, it's tall and reach, safer, but I'll just jump out on the ledge and get it done. And not a great idea, right? This one, you really can't see it as well, but here's a plank where you walk across from one level to another level. And here's the path, and the wheelbarrow handlebars are right in the way, there's buckets in the way, there's just things in the way. You just got to watch out whenever we have any kind of height, then we clear things out so we have a clear path to get over there. I know none of you do this, right? Don't see any of you put an aluminum ladder up against the parallel, making those last little adjustments. It's always interesting it seems like a lot of times when there's injuries in the workforce, it has a lot to do with lifting heavy things and taking down heavy things. This just I think this is some sort of, I don't know, air conditioning unit or something, but that's what it is, in the back, yeah. And they just took it out of the window. Do you see the problems that might come about?
I got several people below it though,
They're just looking up like, I hope you can hold that, because if not, it's going to come right down on us. And anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. What about lifting upwards? What about lifting that same refrigerator up? You take a forklift that lifts the forklift, that lifts the forklift to get it up to the top. Anyway, you can see all the problems that could come from this kind of behavior. Okay, so now we've had a little fun, but here's the situation we had last month. Maybe some of you saw this on the news. Unfortunately, we saw it on the news right as it was happening. But so this is down in Washington County. This is just last month. It had a USU Extension building had a big fire in it. They didn't see that on the news because it was quite big on the news, wasn't it? Because it was they couldn't figure out why they couldn't get it out. There was this big fire that was burning, and the fire trucks were getting it out. Does anyone know why that fire was turned into a problem? Did you ever hear on the reports? Yeah.
Yeah, I know why. It's been remodeled about 100 times since 1929, and there's false ceilings and triple layers of drywall over plaster, and there's a chase running all the way along the back of that building, and the bathroom fan caught on fire and went out, and the firemen couldn't get their poles through the ceiling to put the fire out. They were there within, smoking. They were there right away, and they just couldn't get it out, and then it spread super fast, and it's an old building, and it's lots of wood, and I can't see it anymore, but a shake roof, wood shake roof, so it just really burned.
Yeah, from what I understood, the fan in the women's bathroom had been left on for a long period of time, a year, and it heated up and started smoldering, but like you said, the fire trucks, when they got there, it should have been just a small fire. Get in there and put it out. But he was saying, so, and I know that we've counted, this is the second big fire, total loss, that I've seen since I've worked here, that a result of an old building and this problem of, this building was 1929.
The original part of the building was 1929.
Yeah. And so what they did is over time, as they remodeled it, they just added more layers, and so when they tried to get in to put out this fire, they couldn't get in there. So the fire got in this, all through this top roof area, and got so hot that they couldn't get in there, and it just was so hot, it finally just burned up and just kept burning. So it looks like it's going to be a total loss down there. And so the question was, what would you guys do in this situation with your older buildings? That's the thing. What do we do about remodeling them? I know the church has the same problem. I've seen that their churches are getting older. Some of the older churches, and you know, everyone's trying to save money. So do you tear it out? Rebuild it? One thing I do know, the best way I think you can go about doing it is when you have something that needs to be built, always get a building inspectors in there. I'm sure you do that, but I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. You need to get builder inspectors in there and say, we're going to rebuild this. What do you think on the wiring? Professional people with wiring, electricians that can come in and say, no, this wiring is outdated. This is going to cost, like Johnny was saying, this would be about $600,000-$700,000, and that's a lot of money that came all from all your pooled taxpayer money that you guys have to prepare your claims. So we'll just quickly, we don't have a lot of time, lunch is coming up, so the other one is natural disasters. I know we've kind of talked about that. We don't, luckily, you know, Utah doesn't have a huge amount of natural disasters, but you never know. I mean, they always talk about the big earthquake. You could have big floods, you could have big rains that come in, and like we said, we had a tornado that hit here. We can definitely have natural disasters here, and I think we've kind of covered all that so far today on what you need to do. But, just go over into some ideas of what you can do. First, you need to assess your risk. Determine what is exposed to these things. What is exposed to earthquakes, fires, floods. I know Washington County had a couple of floods. Last year you had the flood where they had also just tons of rain and went right down the city and right into the building and just filled up the building. So decide what areas are exposed to what. What would be the most likely hazard? Maybe Washington County doesn't have a high risk of earthquake, I don't know, but you know, so what is the high risk in Washington County? Floods, probably, because they have so much rock and nowhere for the water to go. So they can base their risk analysis on what water will do. And then strengthen your facility accordingly, and then identify an alternate location to continue business, and then might as well do some mock drills. Might as well try it out and see what's going to happen when you actually have it happen. Prevent operational disruptions. Identify the most critical part of your operations. What has to keep going tomorrow? Identify alternatives for those operations. But the main thing is just have a plan. I think if people just have a plan, it solves a lot of the problems. Pre-contract work agreements with some of your local contractors, that if something big happens, you're not wasting time trying to get an agreement together. You've already got some sort of pre-agreement arranged. Develop an employee leave policy. You don't want us and all the ships sinking and all the mice run away. You want some sort of plan. Maybe if the catastrophe is in this part of the county, You know, the people who live in this part of the county are the ones that need to be at work. You know, some sort of plan, diversify a little bit, have people live out this way and this way, have them maybe be the ones that are on call if these people can't come in, and et cetera. And then just clear expectations of what's expected of your employee. Is it normal to expect your employee to check on their family? I think that's pretty normal. So I think they check on their family, make sure everything's good at home, and then if it is, that employee should be expected to come back and try to help once they've got their family and everything safe. Protect critical data. That's, I think, pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you have to have your records, and if you don't have those, that can cause some real problems. Put access to your information in different locations within the county, your tax records, your insurance records, computer backups. I think if you keep those just in different places, the chances of having a risk that comes in and completely wipes out your county is pretty minimal. It's either going to be at this part of the county or this part of the county. You know, if it's catastrophic enough that it takes out your entire county, I don't think there's a game plan for that. But whatever we do, you know, can't do. If you have a small county, I guess you could also make arrangements with another county to store some of your stuff at another county. That would be worth considering as well. Putting things in water-resistant containers. We have a lot of claims that are from water damage. And, you know, just couldn't be prevented. You know, if they had water resistant containers, if your document's on the bottom floor, and you just put in water resistant containers, then at least they're going to be safe if you have a water loss. I mean, all it takes is a water line, one of these sprinkler lines right here, you know, malfunctions, breaks, you have a small fire, they turn on, all that water's got to go somewhere. And if your documents are all sitting out, they're going to get wet and ruined. So, protect them from water. Water just always travels down and nothing stops it. Maximize workplace safety. This is going back to being smart on work about injuries and preventing people, your employees from being hurt. Identify weaknesses in your facilities. Securing the items that are above ground so that if there's an earthquake, nothing's falling on your employees. First aid training to your employees. We've been doing that here at USU, learning how to do CPR classes and just basic first aid. It's always good to do. Always smart to have medical supplies somewhere where everyone knows where they are. I mean, even that could be, you know, it's amazing how someone could provide a simple medical procedure just because there's nothing to do to help them and not enough time to get the ambulance here. Evacuation plans. Do you have those in your county? I would imagine most of you do some sort of plan. I know, like, if we have certain plans, just depending on the situation here. We have a place we're all going to meet at in case something happens. If someone comes in and is threatening our office, we have the code words that we're going to use to signal that this is someone that you need to get away and meet to the meeting place, and just little things like that. What about an 8 to 12 hour supplies for survival? If you had an earthquake and we were trapped here, do we have any kind of supplies here for food and water to get by for even a couple of days while we wait for assistance? So that's always good to do, is have some emergency supplies in your county offices. Bottom line is we just need to identify the risks, whether they're risks to the building, risks to the people, prioritize, you know, what's important, where we want to, what's our highest risk, our most expensive risks, and what they are, and then basically find solutions. But are there any questions or curiosities? What's been happening as far as some losses in the county? You guys think of besides this one? I know in the past I've talked to you guys about actual losses we've had, and I'm going to knock on wood. Other than this claim in Washington County, I was going through some of our big claims, and really there hasn't been any that you haven't heard about. You know, we've talked about them, I thought I didn't want to bore you to death with the same stories we've talked about, the same claims we've had, but, right now, one thing I do know, is anyone from Carbon County? Yeah, right here. We've had a couple of big thefts. I think it's the same facility. Yeah, the rec center. The rec center had these, you know, all their computers and all kinds of stuff in there, and someone came in and cleaned them out a year ago, and now we got you all these new equipment, and they thought, wow, we got away with it. And apparently came back this last month and cleaned it out again. So, theft is definitely on the rise. We've seen a few more theft claims lately, which is amazing to me, that people steal things from places that have like sheriff vehicles sitting at them, and, I mean, that's right in one of our sheriff's houses. He knew that the sheriff had guns, and some were collector guns, and some he had because he could have them, being a sheriff, and went in and actually stole from the sheriff's house. That's getting, that's getting pretty brave for these people. Any other questions or concerns you've seen in your county, or something you want to discuss?
Here's one thing I want to talk about real quick, is I know that none of you guys, none of the counties have scaffolding like this. None of the counties sends their employee out on the ledge to do the work. Without, yeah, exactly. They have the rope. There's a clothesline that's tied to a chair inside, so the chair comes flying out with it on the ground. You know, you're not gonna build a plank like this where the other thing that's wrong with this is that the plywood extends all the way out onto the next ledge, but the support beam that provides all the support for this ramp doesn't go onto the ledge. So all you've really got is a piece of plywood. I know none of you guys do that. I know none of your employees would put a ladder against a high line to get some string off from the high line from the balloon they got up there, or try and move something out of a window. But have you ever seen contractors do this stuff? And they do it in your county when you hire them. And this is one of the areas where we see some real problems, that when you have a contractor that sets something like this up to get the job done quick, or a contractor that does this to get a job done quick, don't think that the county's not gonna get sued. When this falls and damages those bleachers and injures some third party that's standing there going, look at how cool that is. Yeah, even though that you're gonna think, oh, well, you know, it's the contract, that's why we hired the contractors, so we didn't have to worry about it. The contractors, unfortunately, as I work with the county attorneys and the county commissioners, they are not asking the contractors that you hire for nearly enough insurance, because they don't have enough insurance. They can't get enough insurance. That's why they were the low bid, is because they don't buy much insurance. And because they do things like this and nobody will insure them. You do have vicarious liability, and maybe we can get Lynette to talk a little bit about that after lunch, about the fact that when they sued this contractor that you hired, and he did this, and it fell over, and it hurt people and damaged property, and he only has a $500,000 or $1 million policy, and he's supposed to take care of your claim too, $1 million isn't gonna be enough to take care of that claim. The county is still gonna sustain a significant liability loss. So be on the lookout for this happening in your county. It's not your guys, but you still have that vicarious liability for the fact that you hired them, you're letting it go on your premises. I think that's really important. I just had a discussion with the county attorney yesterday that they hired a contractor that's going to fix their veterans wall. They're going to take down some of the old plaques that don't, apparently they they wanna change the look of the wall, they're gonna take out some plaques and put some new stone in that matches the stone that's already there. They hired a single source contractor that they understood was the only one that could provide the same stone to match the stone that's already there. But then as the county attorney starts working with the contract, it turns out that this contractor that they've hired, actually, they were just better at looking for the stone than the county purchasing agent was. They found another third party that had this stone that they're gonna subcontract with. And this contractor that the county's hiring actually isn't even really a contractor. All they're gonna do is they're gonna rip off the plaques, then they're gonna subcontract the real work, putting the stonework back up to a subcontractor. The contractor that the county's trying to contract with doesn't have any insurance. They're saying, oh, well, you should ask for that from our subcontractor. So you need to watch out for that too, and make sure that as you're requesting, because I'm sure you guys request that RFPs are put together for a lot of work to be done in maintaining and updating your buildings and things like that. You need to make sure that those insurance requirements are in the RFP, that the people, that you aren't getting lowest bid vendor because they don't have any insurance, they don't have the right insurance, and those sorts of things. So do look out for that, and watch out for people that you will ultimately be responsible for doing this sort of thing. Okay. All right. Box lunches are out in the hallway. Go ahead and grab your lunch. You're free to eat in here or in the lounge area. And we'll get back together in about an hour.
Uh, 32 years.
30. How many years are you going to go?
Well, I've got 6 years towards a retirement. So I was a contractor before.
You put out,
Because I mean, it's like, and, you know, when you've got airplanes and things
that's
like
right, I
that,
forgot, they've taken that out.
potential is there, it's gonna happen, some, you know, and I mean, we've, at the motocross, we've had.
Yeah, they don't have it, and
problem was, is that the commissioner was over. He said, you know, that because and then they tried to, when they started, they were trying to cut through money. And then they come in the beginning, cut you, which is I'm doing you guys work. I said, well, if you, so I cut my wages that way, and I'm an employee. They promised me that I could keep some of my money. Once they got me into the employee, they said, yeah.
That's how they were, yeah, to get.
So, you know, I got really,
20 years, I spent there down, and it was probably the size of my own company. A lot of work for attorneys. Profile of whole, you know, I just ran the company, I own the company, I get to see the money, and then but while I was, so
So as soon as I have
it's hard. And there's a building that kind of took care of well, the second day, I let's get some, well, after 4 months or so, down San Jose. Meanwhile, I said, you have like company out, around. And they did, so, but I could retire anyway.
Sounds like it worked for you. But what probably happened is you got different people manipulating it later.
Exactly.
I had the same. And it worked out for like 8 years. And I hated it. But I love my job. I like to do it. I love this. I love it. I love it. Everybody in the county comes to this. There's some too. These ones, take my road. You're locked out.
They track traffic. Looking for cutting property management, they contact me out to go help them 3 days a week.
Yeah, there you go.
13 corporate records. And the county commissioner now, Matt, he's working during the day, he's now the county commissioner. Which is good. I thought you worked for I didn't argue back 5 years ago. He said, well, I'm back there. There you go. He's the county commissioner. Which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, taking care of 8 licenses, $25 a month each. And they wanted me mowing the lawns and all that other stuff.